Hello and welcome. This is Marcy from Sketchbook Scheming, and I'm excited to show you a tour of sketchbook number 17. This took me about 3 months to fill, and here's a look at the stickers of some friends and acquaintances. And please make yourself comfy, and let's check out what I've been up to for the last 3 months. The entire first month was in Italy. My husband and I took a month-long trip, first ever of its kind, and I collected a lot of the stubs for here. And this was from a fountain in Florence near the Ponte Vecchio. And some more stubs and ephemera. This was a statue, a monkey statue they called it, but it looks more like a chimp to me. And I did a travel vlog about my month in Italy where I quickly showed these sketches, but I didn't really explain how they were connected to what we did. So these were all statues from Boboli Gardens. That was one of my favorite things that we did in Florence. We had beautiful weather, and you toured these landscaped grounds of this park with statues from throughout various centuries. Really fun. And these were all references from the Bargello, a beautiful museum in Florence. This was this hunter stumbling upon Diana. She was actually just one of her maidens, I think. I'll show you the original. But this poor hunter stumbled upon a goddess at the wrong time while she was bathing, and she was so furious, she turned him to a deer, and then he was attacked by his own dogs. Pretty brutal tale from Roman mythology. And this was really cool. This was also in the same museum, but it was painted on wood from the 1400s. And I didn't realize this form of the Virgin Mary is kind of an iconic thing where she shelters the little people under her cape. And then this I loved, from a fragment of a bowl from the 1500s. Ciao, Bella. And we went and saw the David. Really worth it. Some of the places, we're crowded and there's so much hype, and you've seen the photos. This one, though, you have got to see in person. It's massively huge. The hands are really extra huge, and it just towers above you as you take in a view of David from all sides. And we came upon a wine hole with no line, and my husband ordered us Prosecco on a hot day. Very, very fun. And this was from an interactive museum about Leonardo da Vinci's inventions. And I imagine myself flying using his wings. And then these were various spots in Florence. This was the reflection we saw in the Arno from a view in Florence, and some street art of this angel painting I thought was really, really cute. This was a statue, part of a statue in Boboli Gardens. We rode a carousel in Florence. My husband was really very patiently humoring me. I love doing things like that. And then we took a couple days to travel to Cinque Terre, these 5 villages. And this is, I think, the only thing I did completely on location. We were waiting to check into our room, and I sketched this as we had some wine from the region and some little snacks that they brought, and this was one of the decorations in the restaurant. And then this is a view of the little town where we stayed. We took a little hike from the village where we stayed to a neighboring town, and these were some of the sights we saw. We had a really beautiful view at a simple lunch that we had in this town. And this was the view from the little apartment that we stayed in. We did a few days in Rome, the Colosseum, and this was from a sculpture in the Vatican, part of a tile floor in the Vatican, and a very famous sculpture in the Vatican. I just showed this one figure and didn't show his sons that are also in the sculpture. I bought a little wine stopper in Florence, and it turned out Pinocchio is sort of from Florence. We had gelato, and I picked up this blue-green teal color. We took a one-night trip to Venice. Really beautiful. So here's a little view of some gondolas and a mask and other decorations that I saw in a store window. Venice at night was really glorious and made the whole excursion worthwhile. The color of the lights on the canals in the night, really beautiful. I took a lot of photos and video, and then I would make the creations back at the apartment. This was an accordion player that I saw in Rome, and not really traditional. I think he was playing a Coldplay song. This was a little glimpse I had of some nuns walking by and a beautiful house in Venice on some more teal ink. And this was from the container of gelato that I got in Venice. This was a wine label, some pigeons we saw, another statue from Bubbly Gardens. This was a very famous pig statue in Florence, and if you rub its snout, you'll be back. You'll be back. I rubbed its snout. And a tower that we saw in Lucca. One of my absolute favorite things that we did in Italy is visiting the dome of the very famous cathedral in Florence. And we were way up inside the dome to get to the top, and we could see the view pretty well from up there of hell and the other things that were painted inside the dome. I really found that whole experience of the climbing and the excitement and getting up there and being on top of Florence fantastic. And then this kind of wrapped it up, just some odds and ends. I bought this marbled paper. It is absolutely gorgeous. It was pretty expensive for one sheet of paper, but I understand. It's all handmade and it's completely gorgeous. Give me ideas though on what to do with it, because I don't know and I'm afraid of kind of wasting it. Back in Connecticut after a month in Italy, I just drew these zombies from a sketchbook school reference, and this guy is a close-up of this guy. Pretty fun using a brush pen and a little bit of watercolor. And then I still didn't have Italy out of my system, so these two guys were also from the Duomo in Florence, another detail from hell, and I loved them. They were holding up this book, and I imagined a special message that they could be delivering. I hadn't brought Neocolor 2s to Italy, and I really missed them, so I tried them out here. It was fun. It was based on a sketch by Danny Gregory for the prompt Firefly, but he imagined people kind of holding their phones as if they were fireflies. This one I made using a phrase from an old movie, Marathon Man, which features a dentist doing a pretty grisly scene. I can't say it's why I'm afraid to go to the dentist, but it certainly didn't help. And he says, "Is it safe?" But the guy, Dustin Hoffman, has no idea what he's talking about. It's grisly. And then this was an old book illustration from about 1900 to illustrate the Hans Christian Andersen story, Anti-Toothache. I wasn't familiar with the story, but oh my goodness, it fit in with this dentist theme. So I think I had done this first, and then I thought of the dental monster mouth. So it imagines that when you have a toothache, these satyrs are like drilling and sawing and hammering into your teeth. Owie, wowie. So I still had hell from the Duomo on my mind. So this creature, I guess kind of a bull, I did him again as a sketch with, I think with Neocolor 2s and a brush pen. And then I wanted to try that monster mouth again, featuring the lower teeth too. I thought this might make a sticker. I don't know. Let me know if you think it would be a decent sticker. And then I picked another terror-inducing image from my childhood, which the reference for this was a monkey from The Wizard of Oz, a flying monkey. Evil incarnate. So I lightened things up a bit with an art hang party featuring Australian animals, and I had a lot of fun trying to be really loose with this with a brush pen and some watercolor, and in this case with a red colored pencil as the background, which I like to do sometimes. These were the little stick puppets that I had in my dragon puppet play a few months ago, and they were sitting on my desks as little kind of like popsicles inside the cups where I keep some art supplies. So I couldn't think of anything to draw, and I just sketched them right from the source. This was kind of chaos that went nowhere, but I tried to salvage it with these little cute goat doodles. And another sketch with a brush pen and some loose watercolor. I really like how the colors came out in the face. The reference for this was from this book of Greek myths. Hell. I could not shake the visions of hell. So I did one more demon from hell, and the background was from dripping watercolor. So this is upside down. I put the watercolor on and then it dripped down. And then I used some infernal glitter spray. It is everywhere in my house. Just kind of experimenting with watercolor and fountain pen. And an art hang party featuring these gorgeous vegetables. I loved the references that Melissa picked, and I really liked how this pumpkin or squash came out, and I think the carrots came out pretty good too. I just love this red color too, watercolor. Okay, I made this moose-headed doll to add to my collection of animal-headed humanoids. I've been doing that for a while. For no good reason, I thought I should make it removable with Velcro in 2 spots so that the moose could have kind of a tall head or a hunched down head that fits in the sketchbook. And then this had been the sketch. And as I made the collage, I cut apart each layer and traced it and made the collage. So that was really kind of fun to mount that here as well. This was from a sketchbook school, drawing along with brush pen and watercolor. That was probably my most used technique in this sketchbook. Art hang party, the brush pen again, but I think I used Tombow markers here for the color. And this was like building a tea party. So Melissa showed one reference at a time and you had to try to compose it into a scene. I really love those kind of themes. People holding things. These were really fun and challenging references. My favorite, I think, is this girl singing. And I like this woman holding these books and this guy holding this big, big dog. And then this was from the same art hang party, people holding things. But I just put down this light wash ahead of time and then used fine liner and a little bit of accent on top. And then this was also from that same art hang party, a woman holding cabbages. I like her, but I do not know why she's leaning over like that. Wish I could fix her. I guess I can. And a sea hag from the D&D Monster Manual. Another monster from the Monster Manual. Some tape. And this one happened to be a Christmas ornament reference of Edgar Allan Poe, but I've drawn that same portrait of Edgar Allan Poe, I think, a few times over the years. This was a free draw frenzy that was really fun, featuring Christmas-related scenes and holiday-related scenes. I like this dog at the piano, I think, is my favorite with this little guy. And I think this was Liberace with some cute dogs as well. This kid went to the dentist one too many times, I think. Shelter dogs featuring brush pen, colored pencil, and watercolor. I liked pretty much all these guys. They were very cute references. This poor little guy only had one eye, but he was such a good boy. Speaking of good boys, my son and his wife got a puppy named Bowser, and he spent a few days with us over the Thanksgiving break. What a good little sweetie. And yes, I want a dog now. I haven't had one since I was a kid. And a doodle that I really kind of liked, a fine liner with a watercolor wash, and just some nonsense background, but I thought it looked pretty cool. I've done this in the past, but I think I get a little better each time I give it a try. Looking at a reference of a real person, but then trying to sort of exaggerate certain features. So like that one I felt I did a good job on. That one, kind of changing the face shape. And then these ones I tried to push the exaggeration a little more. I was on a binge to watch Gossip Girl. I had started it on the plane back from Italy and I got hooked, and these were a lot of like characters. I would watch a bit, pause the show, and then do a doodle. So that was a really fun way to fill a spread. XOXO. These were also from Gossip Girl, and I really liked how they came out. This was Nate and Chuck, and I liked it how it was, so I just left it in fine liner, but then I tried coloring it digitally, and I thought that was pretty interesting. I used for the background the marble paper from Italy. This one I taped off the edges and used a plastic card to spread on some acrylic paint in the yellow and the red, and then I tried to paint this tiger over the top, and I really liked the effect of that rough background. I liked it so much I tried it again, this time with a green and a red. I made the background here right on the paper taped off, and over here on another piece of paper, just kind of like I used up the excess paint on another piece of paper for collage paper, and then I put the praying mantis over it. These two were from a sketchbook school about the state fair, a Ferris wheel with very rough perspective and a pretty cute little pig. Another sketchbook school on gargoyles using that red colored pencil I like to use sometime. And this was my favorite, so I colored it in with watercolor washes. Really like the sort of stone and shadowy effect that I got on that. This was just playing around with a watercolor background that I put tape on and then covered with black acrylic and then pulled up the tape. Very fun to do if you just feel like playing with paint but don't really have an idea in there. A sketchbook school about a white elephant gift exchange. I've heard it called a Yankee swap, where you bring kind of a gag gift and then you can steal other people's gifts if anybody brings something good, like a big mouth bass or a pair of tube socks. So kind of like gifts that people wouldn't really like, although I would like a Bob Ross chia pet, so I think that'd be pretty cool. Chia. This was also playing. In this case, I put down ink, green ink, and then blew it with a straw, and it fans out in a really fun way. And then I did yellow as well. I was just experimenting and playing, but I think you could make a really cool like coral background or something like that. So maybe I'll try it again in my next sketchbook. Another doodle on Chuck Bass. I thought that one came out pretty cool. An art hang party featuring holiday scenes, and this was really fun. I love this little Santa Claus star ornament, and this was like Christmas in Southern California. This was a very cute cat of Melissa's, but to me, the way when I drew it, I thought it kind of looked like a warrior kitty. Yippee-ki-yay! And another very cute reference from Teresa with her kitty and a Christmas decoration. This was a portrait I did of Garth Hudson. Who knew I would draw two accordion players in one sketchbook? Garth Hudson was the last surviving member of the band, about my favorite rock band of all time, called The Band. And I was fortunate to have seen Levon Helm in concert before he passed, as well as Garth Hudson in concert before he passed. So this was just a little tribute. I did this dragonfly illustration. I had the eyes done and I thought they were kind of cool, but then I was opening a new can of coffee and this was the seal, the metal seal on the coffee, and I thought, those have dragonfly eyes written all over them. Okay, this was from a reference I took in Cambodia of a temple, an ancient temple, and I used a charcoal pencil, gray Tombow, and a little bit of green colored pencil for some moss. And then this is supposed to be a close-up of this. This was a pretty fun sketchbook school where they read the text describing the 4 ghosts that visit Ebenezer Scrooge, and then you had to try to make the illustration. I kind of like Jacob Marley, how I made his head kind of floating above his body. The Ghost of Christmas Past was a very bizarre description. She had like super long arms and she had some sort of lantern that came out of the top of her head with light beaming up. But then she had a cone that could cover the light. And then Ghost of Christmas Present kind of seemed like Santa Claus. And then this Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come was like the Grim Reaper. Here is an art hang party featuring flowers. And each reference was held for 20 minutes, which gave a lot of time. I had put down a watercolor background first and taped it off. And then I used the brush pen to fill in the flowers and the negative space. And then this was another reference that was another 20 minutes of a whole bunch of flowers, and I used some white gel pen on top. This one I did in watercolor pencils in the background, and then I added water and activated them and spread the paint around, and then on top I put some watercolor and gouache. Really like the textures I got in some of the spots. And then these were just some more doodles. I think this is Serena and Dan walking down the street in Manhattan. I hope they end up together. I don't know what'll happen. And this was some of that ink that I blew through a straw that I just kind of put on top. And this was from a card that had the watercolor on it, and it was kind of all used up, but not pretty. Some odds and ends from a postcard from Italy. A few more odds and ends. So I really had a lot of fun. A lot of it was Italy focused, and then figuring out how I wanted to continue on for the next 2 months. I kind of hit an unmotivated spell, which is, you know, it ebbs and it flows, but it was hard to finish this one up for some reason. So I hope that's not a sign of things to come, but I love how this one came out, and I'm going to jump into my next one probably tomorrow. So I want to thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought, what you liked, what you didn't like. Any kind of feedback is exciting to me because, you know, you put something out into the void and it's really nice if somebody replies. So thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.
Sketchbook scheming, yeah. Sketchbook scheming, yeah.